Welcome to part 2 of week 11. So this week we're talking all about advertising and in-app purchases, and I'm just going to give you guys some great pointers on where to get started. So we just covered why do in-app advertising, why do we want to do that, what are the advantages, what types of different ads can we put in our apps, and that was part 1. So if you missed part 1, go watch the part 1 video, and then this is part 2 where we're actually going to just look through some of the actual steps to do it. Now, I don't have a project set up on my own, but you guys do. You guys have your Sprint 3 this week, and I want to see you guys implement some of the stuff we're going to look at into Sprint 3. So I won't be setting this up on my end because I don't have Swift as well as Android apps already developed to put ads in, but I'm going to show you and point you in the right direction so that you guys can do this all on your own. So like I said earlier, you're going to want to have that Admob account, and we can get started. So I'll share my screen and we'll kind of read through some of these blog posts that get right into the details of it. So adding banner and interstitial ads to our Android app step by step right here. So we're going to read through this and we're going to take a look. We've already looked at what banner ads are, what interstitial ads are. So you're going to want to create your Admob account. It's free. You're going to want to get an app ID and add units and then set up payment. Okay. You can do this in both Android and Kotlin. All right. So we'll go through each of those sections kind of overviewing. So this is what a banner ad is. This is what it looks like, obviously. You guys know that. This is what an interstitial ad is. It's full screen with the little X in the corner. So we want to create our Admob account. So we can open this link below right here, or you can just Google Admob, admob.google.com/home, and we can just we can sign up. I don't have a Google Admob account, I don't believe. So I'll just sign up with my normal username and password here. Oh, I have an ad blocker on, so I'll turn that off. There we go. Seems to be loading. Oh. Try again. All right, while that's thinking, we'll go back. So you sign up for your Admob account. Hopefully you guys already did that earlier when I asked. And you're going to select which Google account you want to link it to, okay? And then you hit create Admob account. Oh, this is taking so long here. Sheesh. Sure. There we go. Okay. Google Admob. I'm going to do it with my primary email address here. And I'm going to make sure that I'm in Canada, that my time zone's correct. I believe UTC -5 is correct. -2052 -12. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyways, individual, it's not even my address. And then your payment currency. So Canadian dollars, we can change it here to Toronto, I think. New York, they're all the same. Okay. Then we review these conditions. We hit accept, and then we create our Admob account. Perfect. So confirmation email will be sent to our email address. It contains some tips. And then we can also send you some more tips. So if you want to check yes on these, you can do that. If you don't want to get more tips and you just want to do this way on your own, then you can just hit no on all of those. So I'll get an email on the side here and load it off to verify my email address. But here we're inside our Google Admob dashboard. Cool. So we're all set up. And now we can get our app ID and unit IDs. So after signing in, by following the steps above in here, now what we can do is select apps on our left-hand side. and you can see a list of apps that you've created online, just like in the Google Play console, when you have to create an app that you want to publish and then upload the APK. Here we want to create an app that we want to add advertisements to. So it's not like you're creating a new app, you're just adding an app that already exists into Google Admob, okay? Now you're going to be doing the same things if it's Apple. So you can kind of follow along to this point. If you have an Apple app, you're still going to be doing stuff with Google Admobs. So we can get in and select apps from the left side and then hit add first app, which is cool. And then we can choose our platform, Android or iOS, depending on what you have. I'll do Android. And is it listed on the App Store? You can say yes or no, depends on what you actually have. In this example, no selected because the project's going to just be created from scratch. But for you guys, you already have it hosted, I believe, or some of you have it hosted. So you can hit yes or no depending on, that. Enter your project name. So whatever we want to call this, test app for me. And for you guys, you can make, obviously, if it's your chores manager app or whatever, you can put it in there. And then we want to click next, create, add unit button. Okay, so, we can actually search for it on the Play Store. And then you could hit add here. Oh, that's cool. So that's if it's listed on the Android App Store. If it's not on the Android App Store, I wonder if I can go back and just say no. There we go. And you can just put your name like here, test app. Very cool. So I hit add app and it's going to create add units that we can put into our SDK integration. And after we complete testing, we can publish it to the store. And then we can add stores to our Admob app. Cool. So done. If you have it on the Play Store, you can find it. So now we're going to want to do the add unit or create add unit. So right here. So an add unit is basically a section in our ad that we can sell to put advertising into our app, right? So we want to click add unit, and then here we can choose one of those types of ads that I was talking to you about earlier today. So banner, interstitial, rewarded native advanced, app open, etc. So I think we're just going to do banner for now, and then we'll give that add unit a name as we create it. So I'll create banner, and then we'll give it a name. I'm just going to be very non-descriptive. We can take a look at some of the advanced settings here. Video, text, image, Google optimized. Yeah, I would just leave them be. And we can create that add unit. Okay, so this is very important. And technically, you don't really want to share those keys with other people because if they put them in your app, if they put them in their app, technically they could be getting money from your ads as well, I think. Or you'd be getting money from your ads in their app. Anyways, you don't want to share them. So that's why it's hidden here. But basically, you create your ad unit, and this is going to be giving you an ID that we'll actually put in our manifest.xml code later in Android Studio. So you have those codes. One is for the banner ad, and then one is for your actual app publisher ID or the app ID itself. So one's the ad unit itself, and one's the app itself. So when you press create another ad unit, okay, so we can create another one here. They're saying that the screen on the sixth step is going to be shown again. This time we're going to do an interstitial ad and repeat the same process and then click done. So if you wanted a interstitial ad, you create this, hit select, and then I can add this interstitial ad, create the ad unit. And now I've got another key, but this one is for an interstitial ad unit. So done, I've got two ad units here. I can copy and paste these keys and I can put them into my app later and it will create a little space to put them. Or if it's interstitial, it'll take the whole screen. So we can click done, we can view them in our console, and then we can set up payment. So this is a really important step and you don't want to skip this. On your Google Admobs account, you need to have a payment set up in order to actually advertise. And it doesn't mean you're paying someone. you need payment details so you can get paid. So otherwise, your ads aren't going to be displayed. So when your advertising revenue reaches a minimum amount or whatever their set bar is for a month or a week or whatever, your earnings actually get mailed to you in a check wherever you put your payment details section or description. So we can select payments on the left-hand side here, and we can actually input all our payment detail. Paid monthly if the total is at least 100 Canadian. That's your payout threshold. So you have to reach that before. Now, I already have payment stuff set up because I have a Google AdSense account from a long time ago when I signed up for one, I guess. And you might have to hit set up payments and then put in your address, some banking, probably not banking information. I think it's literally just an address so they can mail you money if you ever get it. And then you just hit submit. So here they ask for your account type, your address, submit, and then this is what you'll see, which is what I showed you already. And I can see all my past transactions. I don't think I've ever been paid out in the last all time. Yeah, I don't think I've ever made anything off of AdSense just because I've never actually tried, but kind of cool. And then now we have our project and we can actually create the ads in our project. So how that'll work, and I won't do it on my screen because I don't have an Android app project set up right now for this. But to add our banner app, what we're going to do is go into our build.gradle file that contains the all projects flag here, and make sure it has the Google keyword here. Okay, this is required for both the banner and interstitial ads. And then we need to implement the mobile ads SDK at the app level build Gradle. So this one is at the build.gradle, and this is the app level build.gradle. So you know how there's the two Gradle files? Make sure you're putting them in the right one. So we add this to our dependencies here. Playservices.ads. You might have a different version, but you add Playservices ads just like you would when you're adding a location service or maps dependency. And then we can get our app ID, which we've created from our Admob home screen, from here. So I click home, I come down, where is it? Oh, maybe it's not home. Maybe I go into apps, I click my app, and then inside my app, as requires review, add units. Oh, it's under this section. Here is where I can actually get my keys, my advertising keys, and then we can just literally plop those into our Android manifest.xml under the application tag. So here's our application tag, and then you add this metadata tag, and here you put your application ID that we made, and then the key for the value, right? So you can name this whatever you want, so you can use it later in the code, and then this is the value from online from your ad unit, okay? You shouldn't enter any ID into the name section. However, you will have to fill in an Android value section with your app ID. Okay, so this is your app ID, but you don't have to change this on the first line, on line 14, I guess. So now that that configuration step's over, you can actually add the banner to your project. Okay, now you have to make sure that the mobile ads SDK is initializing correctly, and you want to make sure that the app ID contains the squiggly sign while the ad units contains the slash sign. Okay, so what they're talking about here is when you're grabbing it, you can see which one's which. Obviously this, if I go into it, it tells me this is my unit ID, and then this is my unit name here. And then they give you implementation instructions here. So here's the squiggly sign. That is for your app ID, and then this is for your banner implementation. So don't get those confused. That's what that's talking about. App ID and unit ID are very similar looking. One has a squiggly sign, one has a slash sign. Okay, so this is going to be our app ID. That's what we're putting in there. All right, so how do we actually add that ad to our project, well, you go to your activity that you're putting it in, and then you just call add unit ID, which is this value with the slash in it. So it's this second one here. So this is the one that goes in the manifest. This is the one that goes into our activity main or wherever we're putting our ad. And then what we can do is just put a general banner ad for testing purposes. So here is a general banner ad inside of a relative layout. You're using Google Android ads.add view, and then using this XML. So wrap content true, ad size banner, and then here's where you put your unit ID, your ad unit ID inside of the main activity. And in Kotlin, it looks something like this. Obviously, I'm not going to go over every single step of the code. You guys can figure that out during your sprints. But then when you run your project, or if you run it on an emulator, the banner ad won't be displayed just yet because you have to add a test device in your logcat after running the project. And then you can update the load banner ad method by adding that test device. So it won't actually show an ad unless it thinks that there's actually a device looking at it if you're using the emulator. If you're running it on your phone, it should be fine. But if you are running it in the emulator on the computer, it doesn't think that there's actually a device or someone looking at it. And remember, those viewability requirements require it to be viewable by someone. And so we have to add a real device, search, add test device. Once you've added the test device, you can see it here's in the log. That's the, it's just going to be a value for your test device. And then when you add the test device, that's what the value is going to be. It's going to be coming from your console, from where you loaded that test device up. So we have our load banner add function, which we're going to call and put in our test device from the logcat. And then we run the project, we get a little ad right here. And this is the test ad. It's going to be a test ad because we're doing a test device, so Google knows. And you can just make sure your ad is working. Before you release the app, and including the banner ad, you have to make sure you remove the add test device method, and then you have to make sure that the banner ad unit ID that was used for testing has to be replaced with your banner ad unit ID, okay? Yeah, so the actual unit ID from our apps. Cool. A couple important notes. If the real banner ads are not shown after publishing, wait a few hours because sometimes it takes ads to become available for your app. And then another note is if you want to add an ad listener to your banner, so if someone clicks it, then you can read through this part here. So I'll add this link to the Blackboard. It's just a button, XML code, and then it takes you to the page wherever you link. But yeah, you can add some code to these detail activities, and then whatever activity it triggers, it can link to right here. Very cool. And then this is in Kotlin. And then if you want to learn how to do it with an interstitial ad, obviously you just put the interstitial ID instead, and then it will create the interstitial ad. And you can scroll through that and look at it. But basically, at the end of the day, when the user closes the interstitial ad, the detail activity will be directed somewhere else. And you can watch these videos and stuff. I'm not going to go through them. But yeah, you're just pulling the different ID. So that's the concept for how to do it on Android. Very similar, a little bit different on iOS and Swift. So you're going to create a banner unit ID as well on Admob. And then you're going to have to add that to your app, but it's going to be a bit different, obviously, because it's Swift, not Google, so you won't have your XML files. So here they're creating their banner unit ID in Admobs, and then they've got their units. So here's their app ID, here's their unit ID. And then to actually implement it into your Xcode project, you copy the Google Mobile Ads framework that you've extracted from this Firebase server. If you've previously downloaded the Firebase server, the Google Mobile Ads framework, and then when you copy it into your project, now you'll have access to the frameworks and libraries from Google Mobile Ads. And then if you click plus on the bottom, import the following frameworks. There you go. And then the code you actually need, you need to import Google Mobile Ads Audio Toolbox. In your class, you're going to add the Admob banner view as a var, and then you're going to put in your key right here. That's the add unit ID key that we've created. So same concept, you just plop it in, copy and paste. You just need to make sure you've got the right frameworks and libraries imported. And then obviously you'll have functions for checking if it loaded, if it was successful, and whatnot. So you can go through your Swift files and they would look something like this. You can also hide the banner and show the banner depending on what you want. And then if you're curious about the banner sizes, I think the best banner sizes they've got here. And yeah, that's how to do it on Swift. I will quickly talk about in-app payments. If this is something you want to look into this week, I think it would be cool. So Google Pay allows you to add credit cards and use the Google Pay API. So you can add payments or in-app purchases through Google Pay or in your Apple phone or Apple application. So you can also do Apple Pay as well using their Apple API, using StoreKit, and then testing the in-app purchases. They don't really give too much here, but Google's, I'll put this website also on Blackboard for you guys to look at and go through. So you have to define your Google Pay API version, request a payment token, define the supported payment card network. So if you only want to do Visa or MasterCard, and then create payment data requests objects and a payment client instance, and then just register event handlers for them. So it steps through it all here, step 1, step 2, step 3. You just take this code, plug it in, and go. And then depending on the gateway you want to accept, so these are like all the banks around the world, right? Asia Bill, BPaid, Baryon. I'm sure we could find, Visa or MasterCard if we come to the V section. There's Viva, all these different payment methods. Maybe it's on the first page, I don't know. Anyways, so you can choose which ones you want here, and then you put your merchant ID in there. So you'll need a merchant ID or a merchant account in order to get paid. And then you define the supported payment card networks. Okay, so here's where you do Visa, Amex. And yeah, we just go through the steps. So I'm not going to go through them all in detail because I don't have the project set up to do that. This is maybe something that in your advanced Android class, they could introduce or cover a bit more in detail, but I just want to be able to point you guys in the right direction. So this could be something that you implement into your sprint this week. So yeah, we just create a couple objects here, payment data request objects. And after we return or get that payment data request object, we register some event handlers. If they request a payment, then we call that, and then we put it all together. Looks something like this in the final file. So go through these and in steps, don't just take the final code. It's good practice to understand how all the different components work together. So that's Android. And then Apple didn't really give me a ton on Apple. Let me see. You use the StoreKit like they mentioned here on their website. This is developer.apple.com. Using StoreKit to do in-app purchases in Xcode. And then you can read through their documentation here. There's 5 different types of in-app purchases. There's consumables, so it's purchased every time the user needs it. There's non-consumables, so it's purchased once. Auto-renewable, so it's a subscription purchase. Free subscription, and then non-renewing subscription, so 1-week subscription or something, but it doesn't renew. All right. Now you have to keep in mind some lawsuits and stuff because you will have to be able to pay out refunds if things like children steal their parents' credit cards and they made purchases without their parents' consent. You will have to refund that. So just keep that in mind. Be careful about that if you are putting in-app purchases, even in your test apps here for people to download. You don't want to have to deal with that stuff. But yeah, you just add it through StoreKit. Let me see. There's also alternatives if you want to use things like IAB, OpenIAB, open source library that provides an easy way to work with in-app purchases. And then you just configure it in Apple Store Connect, which if you have the account, the developer account, then you'll be able to do that. But these are some of the, this is their documentation, I think, that I'm inside of now. So these are some of the functions that you call for transactions and stuff. So you can read more about them there. But all these links I'll share on the Blackboard for you guys to read more about. I just wanted to be able to point you guys in the right direction. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys get some of this stuff working. The ads looks like it's pretty straightforward. And then the in-app purchases is kind of like a little extra bonus if you can get that working. I know I didn't cover it too much today, but you know, hopefully you guys can kind of take this starting block and build off of it, and maybe have some sort of fun, cool little testing button where it allows you to make a test purchase. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. I want to give you guys the rest of class to work on your mobile app portfolio team projects in your sprints. So this is sprint 3. You have 1 week left until the end of sprint 3, and you're presenting next week again. So there will be a submission and assignment to go along with that. And then December 17th, I want to tell you guys now, the last day of this semester, we will be having the program coordinator come in and sit in Rob Cattle with us and watch your presentations. So start preparing for that. You guys are going to have to do PowerPoint, answer his questions. You're going to have to present. Everyone's going to have to talk about the app that they made, the documentation, the process, and you know what you learned, what you struggled with, some key things that you overcame, and new concepts that were, you know, really helpful for you in this program. So just making you aware of that. It's going to be in 3 weeks from now, so you have lots of time, but that's basically what your last sprint will be focusing on. So finish up all of your development stuff for this sprint so that the last sprint you can really focus on cleaning up the things that you still need to clean up. Cool. I'm going to end the recording here.